It's really just unbelievable what's happened here. And the water is not like it. It's not like first of all, there was glacier melt water over the
Hmm.
year, and the rivers swelled. But then you had a 400% increase in rain in certain areas, like in the Sindh province, and the water is just standing there. It's not draining out. It's not going off somewhere else, and it'll be there for months. And the water's not moving, so it's standing water. So now there's mosquitoes forming there. The people, there's no fresh drinking water. People are getting dysentery. People have to be evacuated from the areas. They need tents. They need food. They need medicine. It's really an overwhelming. Nothing on the news, nothing uh, on TV really gives you a sense of how overwhelming it is. It was like flying over an ocean for an hour, more than an hour, and you just see houses submerged, crops destroyed, just really devastating.
Yeah, the 33 million of a population of 220 million have been affected, and it's not like there's if you're stuck there, you've lost everything. Is my sense. I would imagine there's not homeowners insurance like we have here. Like you're gone,
Now,
you've lost, you're starting over again.
people have their wheat, their food supplies, like their wheat supply for a year, and the seed for the next crop, which is you're supposed to be planting in the next couple months in November or so, and it's all been washed away and destroyed. I mean, there's a major climate change crisis and a humanitarian tragedy that's taking place, and it's important. It's important that the world knows about it. I have a lot of
I agree.
Pakistani American constituents, that were raising this issue to me, and my co-chair of the Pakistani caucus contacted me. I was actually in Kazakhstan at the time, and she said, I'm going to Pakistan. Will you want to come? So I said yes. I felt like that obligation to my constituents, and it was really just an overwhelming experience. And I met with
Is
the
the
American.
gov-
Yeah,
is the government of Pakistan, do they have the capability to help the people in need, or they need international
they
alliance
need
to help them?
international help. I mean, America's already committed $30 million, and the UN is trying to get 160 million overall. But we're going to need a lot more help from the U.S. and from other countries to help them. Uh, Pakistan is the fifth largest country as far as population in the world,
Wow.
but it is very impoverished, and it's just very. It's got to go a long way in order to improve. They have to change their laws there to make it so it's more stable economically, so people feel comfortable investing there. There's tremendous potential. We see the Pakistani American diaspora here in the United States of America. They're very successful, very well educated, but this country has really got a long way to go, and they need our help. We've had a very up and down relationship with them. They've been around for 75 years since independence, when India and Pakistan broke off from England,
Hmm.
and they helped us a lot during the Cold War. They helped us in the 70s with China. We did a lot to help them become agriculturally self-sufficient. We did a lot. We helped them start their stock exchange. We have 37,000 Fulbright scholars that have come from Pakistan. We've built hospitals and roads and schools, but they are really, but the relationship broke off during the war on terror, mainly, exacerbated when Osama bin Laden was found living in Pakistan. And so there's always was this sense, are they with us or are they not with us? And so it's been very, very cool relations, but we have to figure out, based upon this tragedy, what we can do to try and rebuild this relationship.
Is You mentioned that glaciers melting there, and that's contributing, plus the monsoon. Is this just a glimpse into climate change future that we're going to see there, but also in other parts of the world, just more and more extreme weather that's going to lead to people dying, killing people?
Absolutely, no question about it. This is the best evidence you can have for what can happen because of climate change. I mean, you have places that are having a drought in Pakistan, and other places that were otherwise arid areas that are flooded. You have a combination of, like I said, that you said about the glaciers melting, contributing to the melt water, which to deal with. They have, drainage systems that they've built over the years to deal with that. But then you have in this area of the Sindh province and in Balochistan province, where they've seen a 300, 400% increase in rain. And they don't have the systems to deal with that drainage. It was kind of like when New York City had Hurricane Ida, the New York City stormwater system was built for an inch and a half of rain per hour, which is like a really scary amount of rain. And it was like 7 inches of rain per hour. You can't change the stormwater system to deal with that.
Right.
People that flooded in their basements. So we have these extreme events taking place all over the world between, drought in some places, heat in other places, flooding in other places. So, in America, we talk about how our country, a third of it's got floods, a third of it's got a heat, and a third of it's on fire. So we passed this very important legislation for the Inflation Reduction Act to finally address climate change with a lot of money behind it, to encourage a lot of important things related to renewable energy and electric vehicles. That matters. And Pakistan's taking a lot of efforts, and they were doing it before this happened, to try and finally address climate change. But they're not responsible for a lot of the problems as far as overall contribution to global warming, because they don't produce that much. But they did, deforest their country, which happens when people are poor typically. They cut trees down to either make money out of them or to create farmland or to heat their homes. So they're very deforested place. They don't have the drainage systems in place, and the people are just very impoverished.
When you talk about climate change, and I know in the Inflation Reduction Act, if I remember correctly, almost about $400 billion to spend on that, it seems like such a mammoth problem that it's almost like, as human beings, what can we really do? What can you tell people about, like, don't give up, and that you really can have an impact on this if we do this collectively?
Oh yeah, there's no question about it. We can, I'm a very strong believer you can fix any problem if you just pull everybody in, and the key is to get everybody to help. So, it's a big challenge when China is still building coal plants on a regular basis, when Russia is still pumping, very dirty oil and gas. So we really need to figure out, how are we going to address these problems with the people that are on board, and try and get the folks that are not on board. In the meanwhile, we have to do everything we can. And we have to balance these different things. One of the reasons that America was good at reducing its carbon footprint as dramatically as it has compared to other places is we've had all this new natural gas, and it's a lot cleaner than coal or oil. Now, we don't want to rely on natural gas forever. We want to rely on wind and solar and even nuclear, I believe, and other renewable energies, hydro, but you have to do it over a period to get it done. Natural gas is used to make fertilizer. We've got a famine problem in the world right now. We have to figure out how to grow things effectively. So we have to balance, global warming and famine and poverty. And, when people are poor and they don't have access to energy, what do? They burn wood. They burn pieces of coal. They burn, cow dung. That's bad for you. That's the worst emissions you can imagine. There's billions of people in the world who rely on that type of heating. So we have to balance. I was the New York State Environmentalist of the Year for all of New York State. I'm a big environmentalist. I believe in climate change. I got awards from Al Gore when I was the mayor of Glen Cove in the 1990s. I'm very committed to improving the environment, but we have to do it in a balanced way. And part of it is lifting very poor people out of their poverty.